Hate is a strong word, and I don't like to use it. But I absolutely hate dogs with the fiery passion of a million suns. I am not an animal hater, which dog lovers like to call me. I have deep respect for animals and admire many of them from afar. I just lack any positive feelings for man made mutant abominations that are not a product of evolution and that nature would never have created. I don't consider dogs to be animals. They are man made monsters with frightening bodies that aren't natural and don't even work properly. Hip dysplasia, for example, is common in dogs. It's an abnormal formation of the hip socket that causes crippling lameness and painful arthritis of the joints. Many dogs have wrinkly skin that causes infections, rashes, and inflammation. Entropion is a condition which is caused by excess skin around the dog's eyes, causes irritation and conjunctivitis. Ectropion is another eye condition which is caused by the loose facial skin. This loose skin can make the dog's eyes droop and expose them to infection. Some dogs, like pugs, have squished in faces that make it impossible for them to breathe properly. This is very creepy and disturbing. Nature would never have created floppy ears in dogs, which are more prone to infections because the shape of the ear tends to trap moisture, makes it easier for dirt and bacteria to become trapped. Dogs are hideous monstrosities that creep me out. Now, I have a lot of different reasons why I hate dogs, and I'm going to elaborate on all of these in future videos, but just to give you a snapshot into the reasons why I'm making this video. So, basically, people always ask me, well, how can you hate dogs? Dogs are so wonderful. They're not. And, I've had a dog, and my dog was absolutely repulsive and gross. If you observe dogs in the sunlight when they're in your home and they shake themselves, all dogs shake themselves regularly. And when they shake themselves, dander and hairs go flying everywhere into the air, and they'll land on your counter, they'll land everywhere. They contaminate the air wherever they go with their hair and dander, and it's disgusting. If you live in a house with a dog, then dog hair is always an extra ingredient in any food you cook. It's disgusting. Dogs slobber. When they shake themselves, you will also see strands of slobber go flying against the walls, go everywhere. So they spread their disgusting slobber and hairs and dander everywhere, and this is just revolting. They love to run up to you and rub their earwax and their eye crud into you. They just want to get it all into you, and it's revolting. They drain their anal glands. They rub their ass across the carpet, draining their anal glands, which reeks. It's disgusting. They plant their dirty anuses down everywhere. Every time they sit down, you got to think they're not wearing underwear. They're planting their dirty ass everywhere in your house, leaving traces of shit and everywhere. They smell horrible. I can't even describe the horrible smell, this musty, mildewy smell. Even after a bath, the dog will still have that distinctive dog smell. It never goes away. And if you're a dog owner, you might not notice it because you're used to it. But when you don't have dogs, you can walk into someone's house and you can tell immediately whether or not they have a dog, because that distinctive dog smell will be present. And it's nauseating when you're not used to it. When you pet a dog, even if the dog is clean, your hand will always feel grimy afterwards, because they have this oily, grimy stuff in their fur that just is left on your hand afterwards, and it's gross. Their breath is horrid. They're always panting. Well, not always, but they're often panting, and the panting gets on my nerves. I don't like to have hot breath on me. When they have their tongues sticking out, I have a natural aversion to seeing this. When I see a human being with their tongue sticking out, this is an indication that there's something wrong with the human. if they're hanging their tongue out. And so I don't like to see that. I don't like to see penises sticking out, and dogs have this. Their pink penis will come sticking out, and I mean it's gross. It's disturbing to see. I don't like how dogs lick themselves constantly. They make these terrible sounds when they lick. They lick their genitals. They, quote, clean their anuses with their tongues. So they're always licking their anuses and then they're spreading traces of feces and urine and parasitic eggs, because dogs are always shedding parasitic eggs. It's not a question of does your dog have worms? It's a question of how many worms does it have? And then they spread these eggs and these traces of shit and piss all over their fur. And it's on their tongue, and then they want to lick you. They're always trying to lick you. They love to eat shit and vomit. My dog used to go out in the yard and find cat shit. It was a delicacy for her. And then she'd come back in the house and vomit it up. And then she would eat her shitty vomit and then try to lick me. Dogs are so gross that they eat their own shit. They drink their own piss. They sniff and lick other dogs' urine on trees and then try to lick you. Like, no thank you. So your dog transmits disease, not only parasitic worms via the eggs that it sheds out of its anus, but dogs carry and spread viral and bacterial diseases. They have ticks, mites, and fleas. 60,000 people around the world die from rabies every year, and dogs are the main source of rabies deaths, contributing up to 99% of all rabies transmissions to humans. Dogs' noses are always wet. You hear people complain about snotty kids. Well, when you have a child, you can ask your child to blow into a tissue. But dogs can't blow for you, and their noses are always wet, whether or not they're sick. Children have snotty noses only when they're sick, but dogs' noses are always wet, and they're always rubbing their snot into the windows of your car or of your home. They're always licking their snot too. If you look at a dog, its tongue is always going over its nose to lick its snot. I find this disgusting. So dogs they sniff everything. They bump their noses into everything, and they leave their snot on everything. They're always sniffing other dogs' butts. And they do this thing called backwards sneezing. Look it up. They don't expel irritants like we do when we get an irritant in our nose, but they draw them in the most disgusting fashion. It's so unnatural. They're the only animals that do this. They sniff crotches. They hump you. They hump your kids. They're instinct driven, and they have no sense of morality or right or wrong. They're just disgusting, and they're intrusive. They have no respect for personal space. They'll run up to you demanding to be petted. They're very rude. They're very, very needy. They always need attention. They're always watching you. They never take their eyes off you, and it makes me uncomfortable. They're always begging for food. This is so annoying. They're never full. They're always hungry. They'll eat until they get sick or die from bloated guts. They're conniving thieves. They steal food off the counter. They steal your food as soon as you turn your back. They'll steal food from your kids' hands. Once I was at the beach with my kids, and this dog was running around, and it came and it took the sandwich out of my kid's hand. All they think about is food. They won't do anything for you unless you offer them treats or food as a reward, yet we call them man's best friend. Imagine having a human friend like that. I don't like their energy. Most are hyper. They're all wound up. They jump on you. They're always up your ass. They follow you everywhere. You trip over them. They're always in your way. They're aggressive with other dogs, with visitors, with anyone walking down the street. Even if they are not a threat, dogs will harass and threaten them by barking aggressively. The abrupt, jarring sound of repetitive barking is to me the worst sound in the world. It's a hideous sound nature never would have created. Dogs attack people every day, and children are their preferred targets. The elderly are their second most preferred targets. They attack for no reason. They will just chase a child that's minding his own business and just attack him for nothing. And they do this every day. Dogs are a major threat to wildlife. They harass and kill all kinds of wildlife, including seals and penguins. And they don't do this for survival. They do this for fun. In 2017, dogs killed 39 people in the USA. Black bears killed 2 people in that year in the USA. Now, if I see a bear in my yard, I will be rightfully worried and afraid. And if I call the authorities, they will come and they will remove the bear from human territory. They will recognize that bear as a threat. Yet when I called the authorities to report a loose pit bull in my yard, they gave me attitude on the phone and they were all like, well, is the dog acting aggressively? No, who cares? The bearers are not always acting aggressively, but we recognize them as a threat. Just their very presence in our community is recognized as a threat, but dogs aren't. There are over 4.5 million reported dog bites in the USA every year. Imagine how many more go unreported. Approximately 800,000 of these bites require medical attention. 28,000 people require reconstructive surgery in the USA every year due to dog attacks. Dogs attack unprovoked, even when raised in loving homes. And they attack for the most ridiculous reasons. Even dogs that never showed any aggression and that were raised in loving homes will kill babies as they sleep in their cribs. Dogs have attacked children for sitting in their car seats with the car doors open. They will attack you for stepping out of your vehicle, for going for a walk down the street, for raking the leaves in your backyard, for dropping a glass, for having a seizure, for making a sudden movement, for putting up a Christmas tree. These are all reasons why dogs have attacked and killed humans, and if you don't believe me, just check out the statistics and read the reports for yourself. Humans that commit acts of violence always have a history of trauma and abuse, but it is not so with dogs. Because dogs are instinct-driven, and they have tiny frontal lobes in their brains, so they cannot regulate their behaviors like humans can. Dogs bark. It is terrible. It is an epidemic. It's something that is driving people crazy by the millions. It's affecting our health. I'm going to cover this in a future video, but barking is just a huge problem in our communities. Dogs destroy property, and they rip up everything you own. And then when you're trying to figure out why they're doing this and how to put a stop to it, dog experts will tell you it could be because they're not getting enough activity and they're bored. Or it could be because they're overstimulated. So which is it? No, they're just horrible animals and naturally destructive. They are dumb. They will pull on a leash until they choke themselves with their collars. They let burglars in if the burglar offers it food. Now, people love to talk about how loyal dogs are. Right. They will choose food over anything. Even if their lives are at risk, they will become distracted by food. They have no discernment. They will show affection to anyone who feeds them. They don't care about your personality or who you are as a person. They will show affection to anyone as long as that person has food. So their affection has no worth. It has no value. Mutants, that's what they are. They creep me out. They're monsters. They're not natural. They're not a product of evolution. Nature never would have created dogs. They are abominations. And that's why I hate dogs.